Nice and early. Dad's blowing off the combine with his leaf blower. A couple of sunflowers silently coming through, but not really many. So he's going to go and just finish the rest of the week before we go either into the barley or the beans. And then I'm just off to the tip. So this morning I'm just going back up the field to grab the 2 trailers, and then we're thinking we're probably going to go across to the beans. I would think maybe the 9 acres, they've taken the header off because we're obviously bracing the weather again now. Take one that's got some grain in, going to take that back down into the yard and tip, and then the other trailer that's empty, we just might as well just dump it outside on this field. Another beautiful day. So I'm going to put this 12 tonner over by the beans. Dad's just setting up the combine so we can start on beans. It's really interesting because it's probably 6 or 8 weeks ahead of schedule. A lot of people are finishing in the area as well. So it's Sunday afternoon. We've moved into the beans. Now you can see drastically different. These are very thick stemmed, and it looks like the combine's having quite a difficulty with actually processing the material. So I've heard the header jam quite a few times. You can see why it's trying to work through this thick material. You can see a couple of bung ups here. So I mean, that's the sort of material it's trying to process. As we're moving down, it's very strong. That's not much give in that. And then obviously all to harvest these. And so these are supposed to be non-shatter pods, and you can see how with the profile it's actually hugging the bean, and that's supposed to increase the ability for the pod to withhold the bean without damaging it in adverse weather. But hopefully if we can knock this off and we can knock those other 2 fields off, then we can go back into the barley, which was drilled by the Claydon. I mean, every time one of these mounds is present, that shows where the combine's had to stop. So quite clearly it's not really going that well. See, the reel's nice and high. I don't know if you guys recall, but right at the very start when I started doing these videos, you know, video number 1, I said that we were going to be drilling beans, and I said that beans are a nightmare to drill and they're a nightmare to harvest. Well, case in point, we had to get a contractor in to come and drill them. There's bean pods and beans all over the floor, and Dad's having to stop every 10-15 meters to try and ensure that the beans actually feed into the combine correctly. So I just spoke with Dad, and he basically said we've had to take the chopper off because he bunged him. Now the straw walkers have actually bent as a result. A lot of these have been bent up. You can see they're only soft anyway. They came down on the chopper and got blocked because this obviously is usually up here. It backed up and just bent them all. So I'm just going back in the beans with no aircon. It is so hot in here, but you can see all the beans stuck along the knife. The beans aren't feeding onto the header properly, but if we put the reel down to help with that, then the reel is smashing the pods off of the stems before we even get a chance to harvest them. So it's like a balance between bringing the reel out, but then getting it not feeding properly, and then having to put the reel back down again. Yeah, this is really tricky. We're in for a long afternoon. So this is what happens when you've got a blockage. You pull this other handle. Hear the beans hitting the windscreen. And then you put it back into proper drive. And hopefully it goes back in. Now it's no surprise that all the blockages are down that end where the crop is actually at its highest. So what I'm trying to do is just strike a balance, but more often than not I'm having to ride the reel really low down onto the header to pick up these small ones, and you know, just accept that we're going to have losses on the taller stuff. Had a couple of spectators. There's a tiny black bug on my arm and it's bit me, and it's come up in that. I have no idea what it was, but it was no bigger than like a grain of rice, and it's caused that. Hi. Let's have a quick look at the beans. Looking alright, aren't they? So we're just quickly getting off. See all this building up in here. How many beans are in there? Christ. The reason we've had to get out is because there's a stone on the header, which I've now lost sight of. Ah, there he is. See him? So never get your body in here. There's a stone just down there. Ah. There you go. So if that goes through, then we break another finger. Sunday afternoon. So now we're going to take this header off and we're going to move the combine over the road, and we're going to do those 2 fields of beans as well. The next job, to move the header, we need to basically take this shaft off in there, this clip, which is part of the reverser, that's just on an R clip like this, and then these pipes. So I'm going to do that. So he's just drape over the light section like this. Dad's bringing the beans down. We're going to put the header trailer on. These 2 are off. These 3 hydraulic pipes are off. The PTO shaft is off. And the clip which actually holds the header on is off as well. To get the points off, there's a little metal catch here. That goes round. Pick them up by their point and they fall out. And then you just pull them out. But obviously you need 2 hands for the job. Here he comes with a header trailer. So when we're putting the header trailer on, we like to make sure it's nice and level. So fortunately, little trick, if we get the pick a bitch to drop down in the cab, then I've got these switches. So I can just press these and the header trailer will go level. Oh, saw the beans going. There you go, and she is on. And then it's got 2 little tits down in here, you can see, and that's what it looks like when all the grain goes up inside it. This is a view from the other side. So make sure we keep all our beans. Most of them are in the bloody field anyway. These are the fingers, so we snapped one of these earlier. Just taking the header trailer across now. It's one of those necessary evils to get off the road. We've had to crush it a little bit. Right, so I'm just cutting out the headland in the field opposite the farm. Dad's just dropped the header trailer off. He's going to go back, tip those 2 trailers. It smells greener, and there's a lot more green in it as well. So just on the 3rd pass around the headland now. You can see all these weeds are flying up, which doesn't help our weed burden. Finished up the wheat, and we're now on the 2nd field of beans, so I'm quite happy with that. We spent a long time cutting them, but I actually haven't really shown you the beans. This is them. Put the camera so you can see better. The re-thresher is crushing a lot of them. It's basically like walking on the beach. What I tend to do is get up on here, put your feet on here, and then once you kick this off, you end up riding the tailgate. Right, that's the final load of beans tipped. So the one final thing that we're going to do, because we ended up having to row up all of the bean straw at the back of the combine, it looks like we're going to have to go around the fields and top them all. So Dad's done the other 2 bean fields, and then I'm just going to finish up here. Rained last night, so it's not going to chop it necessarily as good as some of this stuff when it was dry. But so we're now just going down each of these bean rows, and now we're just topping it all. Turning it into this from that. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please do give this video a big thumbs up. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. And that's when we're going to be talking about the Claydon drilled barley that we're going to be harvesting.